Have you ever asked yourself why people in the UK and in the United States sound differently? I might say probably people in the UK, why they do say water or even butter or better? And why people in American English, particularly in American pronunciation, they say water, daughter, okay? Or even whatever they say. Why do they pronounce the letter ER? And why the letter ER at the end of the words and even at the middle and at the end of the words is suddenly disappear in British pronunciation? And yeah, I mean, you might probably wondering, what on earth am I on about? What on earth am I talking about? Yeah, so this is what this video is going to be all about. I'm going to to show you how to sound more British, how to learn British accent with one sound, only one sound to sound more British. And I think, as you probably know, this channel is all about British English and how to sound more confident. And I think this is one of the most fundamental sounds that a lot of people they struggle with, particularly in British pronunciation. And yeah, I mean, if you can master the only sound that is around 50% in British pronunciation, you will get there. You will definitely sound more British. And what I'm talking about, of course, is schwa. Schwa sounds. One of the most common vowel sounds. This is one of the most common pillar in British pronunciation. It sounds like this. Okay? It's very short, relaxed sound. Sometimes we call it a lazy sound because it's is a cousin of other vowel sounds in British pronunciation, which I think is like it worth 50% in all the accent, entire pronunciation. And I think if you can master the only fundamental cousin in the vowel sounds in British pronunciation, you will get there. You will definitely sound more British. So without further ado, let's get started. And please, if you're new to this channel, you've just arrived, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also click the bell for consistent uploads. And yeah, let's get started. What I'm talking about here is all about schwa sounds, and I'm going to show you how to master it in the middle, at the beginning, and of course at the end of a word. And it's one of the most common fundamental pillars in British pronunciation. And now, let's get started. Now, when it happens in the middle of a word, normally, what you can say, without effort, without any kind of a laziness, okay? It's appear in fundamental words. Like, probably you might say, at the beginning of a word, you might say, about, okay? About. The letter A are the start of about, and as we mentioned previously, I say, okay? This is how you sound it. This is how you say it. Is a very short, relaxed sound. About. No, about is about. Again. Around. Another. Now remember, every time when you find a word that is starting with the letter A, you have to put a sound, okay? Because this is a schwa sound, where I think it's common sounds that appears quite a lot. It's everywhere, to be fair. It's everywhere. One of the most fundamental tips, I would say, if you are not stressing, chances are it's a schwa. So repeat after me, as I mentioned earlier. About, another, again, around. So, have you noticed I say at the beginning is very relaxed and it's very short, lazy sounds. And I would say the second position where it appears quite a lot is at the middle of a word as well. But I would say where this one really takes over in the middle of a word, when a syllable in the middle is in stress, often turns into schwa. For example, we might say banana, banana, okay? Support, not support, 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 support. People might tend to say police, but it's actually police, police. According to the dictionary, that should be pronounced police, police, okay? Not police, police, police. Fundamental parts. Animal, 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 okay? We have got banana, support, police, animal. Notice the vowel in the middle of these words, not fully pronounced, of course. And you might probably see in a word like, kind of like, f, like 4 becomes f, 2 becomes t, because it's a function word. It's not important in the sentence. So do you be aware of it? And in case this happens and you speak, and probably just need to practice it from time to time. We have got banana, support, animal, animal, police, police, police. So, I mean, it's a very tricky sound in the middle and at the beginning. But the fundamental part is that you master it at the end of a word. This is how you literally sound even more British. And I think this is one of the most fundamental positions that is what happen quite a lot in British pronunciation, especially endings. So ending of a word, for example, that we might mention earlier when I say the words water, I say the word water. Americans tend to say waddle, teacher. I don't say teacher, 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 doctor, 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 okay? Car, car, not car. I mean, endings is from like ER, OR, and even A. When you find that a word ends with the A, of course, you can say idea, idea, okay? Sofa, sofa, sofa. So, you know, if you often become schwa at the end of a word, as I mentioned earlier, ER or even OR and letter A, teacher, teacher, doctor, doctor, car or even sofa, idea, idea. That's really fundamental, and I think it's one of the most common pillars in British pronunciation. And I would say just how to master it. That is really what you need to practice. And yeah, I mean, just start by listening and start by training your ears and listen to British podcasts, YouTube, Netflix. Words that sounds unfamiliar, just try to practice it. And each one will follow. And I think copy what you hear all the time. Try shadowing and repeat right after the native speaker. Focus where, like, kind of you stress the vowel sounds. And I think intonation and stress patterns are really fundamental. And probably you might say, practice sentence. You might say, this is a book. This is a book. This is a book. Oh, go to. I mentioned earlier, to becomes to because in a sentence, the function words is not important anymore. You can say go to school. No, go to school, go to school. Going to London, going to London, going to London. Not going to London, it's going to London, going to London. She's an actor. She's an actor. She's an actor. She's an actor. Sounds more natural, right? So, I mean, that's really fundamental. And you just need to practice because the practice makes permanent. And when in doubt, you say softer, those are never loud because it's really, it's like a whisper in a conversation. And that's the magic, to be fair. And it's a very quiet and lazy sound. We call it a lazy sound because it's very lazy sound. And yeah, I mean, just practice it. words like banana, about, teacher, at the end of a word, beginning, or even at the middle of a word, and you will start hear the voice every single day. Drop in the comment section below what is your favourite word with each schwa sound, and give it a thumb up if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, thank you very much for watching, and remember, your mouth and kind of your ears let the schwa do the talking.